All right, we are going to make a bouncing ball animation, and we're going to use Adobe Animate. So we're going to go to the Start menu down in the lower left, and we're going to look through the programs and open up Adobe Animate. And we can go ahead and skip the tutorials for now. We are going to create new, so we'll hit that button. It'll bring up some different preset options. There's lots more up here. We're just going to do the one that's already highlighted, the 1280 by 720. And we're going to change our frame rate. Just go ahead and put in 24 for the frame rate, frames per second, and then we'll hit create. And here we go. You can double click on the hand tool. That will frame things, put the stage right in the middle there. And we can rename our layer. So we have our layers down here. We'll double click, and this is going to be our ball. So there's our ball layer. And we're going to draw our ball, go down to the rectangle tool, and I'm going to click and hold down to bring up some other options. I'm going to get the oval tool, and we're going to make our oval be filled in a green. So we'll change that fill. The stroke is going to be black, and we're going to make the stroke or the outline a little bit thicker. So we'll change that to 5. And then the width here, we're going to change to profile 2. And I'm going to draw my ball, and I'm going to click and drag. And if I hold down shift, it'll make sure that my ball is a perfect circle. We'll let go. And the next thing we're going to do is select that ball. So I'm going to click and drag and cover the whole area. And back to the properties panel over here, we are going to convert to a symbol. So I'll click on there and we'll say OK. And then we're going to head down to our timeline in our layers, and we're going to right click on there. And we are going to create a motion tween. So I'll click right on that. You'll see it filled in the full second there. And we're going to go to our very last frame, and we're going to right click on that. And we're going to insert a keyframe there. And we want the position and the scale, all those things. We want all. And so we're going to have our ball starting on our first frame and ending on our last frame in the same position. We're going to make another layer for our ground. And so I'm going to click on this little plus icon over here to make a new layer. And we can label that ground. So I'll double click and we'll call it ground. And we're just going to draw a line at the bottom. So we'll get our line tool here. And we just want that to be filled in with black and a black stroke. And we have our line tool. And I'm going to click and drag. And if I hold down shift, it's going to lock it in to be horizontal. Draw that and put that on there. And we can lock that layer. We're not gonna change anything to it, so we can lock it. And I guess we do want to insert our keyframe because we want the ground to show up throughout the whole animation. So on the last frame of the ground layer, we are going to insert a keyframe so that it'll show up throughout the animation. And we can lock our ground layer. We could drag it to be below the ball. It doesn't really matter since it's not gonna matter on this one. We'll head back to our ball layer, and we are going to make frame 9 the spot where the ball goes down and hits the ground. So I can tell that I'm on frame 9 right here. And I'm going to insert a keyframe, which I can just use this button right here, Auto Insert Keyframe. So I'll click on that. And from now on, anytime I click on a frame, it's going to automatically make it a keyframe. And I'm going to get my free transform tool, and I'm going to drag this ball down, and it is going to be on, let's undo that. It's going to be on the ground in frame 9. So we're going to drag it down. I can hold shift to make sure that it's going in line, and it's going to go down. It puts up these dots of where the ball is going to be in the different frames. And we can preview that, and we can watch this animation. It's going to have start up at the top, down to the bottom, and back up to the top. And we do want to loop it. We're going to have it go round and round. And we want our preview to be the entire animation that we have right now. And we can hit play, and we can watch what we've animated so far. We can pause it. And on that frame 9, we also want the ball to squash. So we're going to transform it with that free transform tool again. And it's going to squash when it hits the ground and get fatter. You can also use your arrow keys to move it down. We want it right on the ground. The main thing when resizing is to make sure that it's not going to lose its volume. You want it to make it look like it's got the same volume as it did when it started. And that might take a little bit of back and forth, but we'll start with that. And then I'm going to head to frame 8. And in frame 8, when I click on it, it's going to put the keyframe on there. So frame 8, and we want it to stretch. We're going to stretch it on this one, and it's going to be on the ground also. And I might have to adjust just to get that right volume. So 8, it's going to stretch. 9, it's going to squash. And then on 11, oh, that's 10, sorry. On 10, it's going to also be stretching. So I'm going to select frame 10. We're going to stretch it out, keeping our volume. And we want it to act like it's accelerating. After it hit the ground, it started to shoot up faster. So it's going to come down and bounce up faster. And you can scrub through this timeline here and slowly walk through what the ball is doing and see how things are going. Or you could go back and hit your play button and see how things are looking. The other thing we want to include is we want it to look like it starts out slow. So I'm going to go to frame 3, and when the ball first starts to drop, we want to slow it down a little bit. It's not going to fully be accelerated yet. So I'm going to make it into a circle, and I'm going to use my arrow keys, and I'm going to move it up some just so that it starts a little bit slower and it starts to accelerate as it's falling. It stretches, it squashes, bounces back up with a stretch, and then it's going to slow down again when it gets up to the top. So frame 21, I'm going to insert a keyframe there, and I'm going to make it a little more round, and I'm going to put it up a little bit also. We can watch through our animation, and I would probably go back and play with things a little bit more, trying to make sure that I'm not losing volume and making sure it looks like I want it to. But we'll call that good for now. And when I'm ready to save it, I can head up to this button up here, Quick Share and Publish. And I'll click on that button, head down to Publish, and we're going to save it as an animated GIF. So we'll click that button, and we'll hit Publish. And it should be pretty quick to save. Export successful, and we saved it. So that was the quick version of making the bouncing ball animation.